Hi everyone, welcome to Mumsu Code video guide session. So far, we have prepared all our required infrastructure to work on our application. Now, we're going to look at a model that is assigned to us and how do you save that model when a request comes in. So for that, let's get uh, a model prepared. So under the console application, you can add up a folder, models. And in my case, I'm going to take a model name that is going to be sample. So we'll go again with the folder, samples. In this model, we don't have any actual use case, but I'm just leveraging this model to share the knowledge. So in your example, you can have a meaningful model that you're going to work on to learn the C# as well as the standard. Go with the class. So I'm going to name it as sample. Okay. So as I said, it's all going to be very much basic to understand what we are trying to do. So here, there's a shortcut where you can create it, PROP and double tap. It's going to create you the options. So for me, it's going to be integer, and I'm going to take ID, which I'm going to treat as a unique identifier for this particular model. And then the next one, I'm going to go with string and text. So let's take an example of something real, right? So let's say you're taking a book. You will have an ID. That's again a unique identifier for you to keep track of the records. And then you might have title, author, published date. So these are the attributes that is defining the model that you are bringing in. Another example that I could think of is a person model where you have first name, middle name, last name, date of birth, and whatnot. What are the attributes that are associated in order to define a person? So that's all about it. So now I have my unique identifier, which I'm treating it to be an integer. And then I have a random text that I'm going to create as part of this model, and that's going to take in of data type string. Nice. So now let me start working on the code that is required to save this model whenever there is a request coming in. So for that, we need to have brokers. To understand about brokers, I'm going to give you a link in the description. It's going to give you the big picture of how our services boundary is limited and how is broker going to play a role so that we can have our communication established to external services with a minimal change possible. So with that said, let me go with a folder. And now what I'm going to work on is a capability for storing this record and giving it back, right? So now I might need a storage broker. So storages, okay. It's always recommended to have interfaces. Let's take a look at interfaces. So you can go select interface and then storage broker.cs. Okay. So what is an interface? It is kind of an abstraction layer for your implementation. So all these are technical terms, right? So let me give you an example. You're walking into a restaurant, you receive a menu card, you look at the menu. Do you know how that particular menu or the order that you're making is getting prepared behind the scenes? Whatever we are aware as a customer is we look at the menu, we place an order. After some time, we receive the order. That's all right. We are not aware or we are abstracted from the information that is happening behind the scenes in order to deliver that product. That's the same thing. So anyone who's consuming our product, they will be aware of the capabilities that we are providing them, but they are abstracted from the information on how that capability is being provided. In our case, the model sample is going to give you a capability to insert a sample record. But behind the scenes, how it is getting inserted is not visible. That's the interface here. So for this, I need to prepare what's my contract. Contract is a set of information that is established between your as a software and someone who's consuming this. So for now, what I'm treating is I'm going to give them back the entity that is being saved. And I'm going to call this method as insert. What am I inserting? I'm inserting the model sample. So insert sample. So for me to insert, I need a model, right? So that's my input. It's auto completing. Yeah. So let's again have a recap. So I'm going to perform insert on the model sample when I receive an input of sample. That's the model name here. After that, I perform the activity. I'm going to return the sample. So that's the contract that we're establishing here. So you see, we have closed out with semicolon, right? We're not actually talking about how is this going to be implemented. So that's the interface. Nice. Now let's go write the code that takes care of inserting the record. So right click, add and class. Now this is going to be storage broker.cs. Okay, if you see the naming convention that we're following is I prefix is an interface, which is kind of easy for us, and then the class is actually the storage broker. Okay, so now what I'm going to say is this symbol implies of the relationship between the left hand side and the right hand side. So I'm going to say it's going to implement I storage broker. Okay, as soon as you do this, it's in red line, right? Let's read about it. It says storage broker does not implement interface member insert sample. So what we're saying is you have something in your contract, but you have not said how is that being prepared or delivered or working, right? In terms of the example itself, let's say you're given a menu card to order a milkshake. After you make the order, and what if the order comes back and says, hey, sorry, we don't have milkshake, right? So it's something like you have established a contract that you'll be providing this capability, but then you don't have the implementation of it. So that's the error that it is telling here. So one easier way is control and dot. It's going to give you the options. You can say implement the interface. Yeah, it's going to prepare you the template for it. Nice. So if you see here, it has prepared you the contract, exact same thing. I'm going to insert a sample. I'm going to take an input of the sample and I'm going to return a sample. And this is a public modifier. So here, these are called access modifiers. You can define the code and say who can access it and the visibility of it. Since it is public, anyone that is inside this app, console app, can access it, provided they have an object for the storage broker. So that's the access modifier. I'll be providing the link for you to read more on that. And then if you see, it gave you a default code. It says throw new not implemented exception. So what it means is you have some code, but you have not returned it. So this is the exception or the error that can be thrown when you don't have a code for saying what it can do. Okay, let's come there. Before that, I'm going to save the sample, right? So where are you going to save? For now, we don't have a persisted storage. So we're going to leverage in-memory storage for us to learn the concepts. And then slowly we'll increase the complexity by bringing a real storage which can be persisted. So when I say in memory, what it means is the life of the entity is only when the app starts and the app stops. So today you're going to run this particular application to save a person record. Let's say first name, Shri, last name, Amruta. And then once you turn off the application and you come back tomorrow and you say, hey, I saved a person record. Can you give me that? It'll say, I don't have anything. So that's the life of this particular in memory. So what we're going to do is list is a data structure that we're going to use, which says that it's going to be a group of person records. So today I can do insert person 1, then insert person 2. So it's going to accumulate it and store it as a group of records. So list, what am I grouping here? In my case, I'm going to group sample, right? And then I'm going to have a name for it. So samples, and yeah, it's auto completing. So you're defining the storage, that's in memory storage, that you're going to use in this application. Okay, nice. Now I know what I'm going to save, where I'm going to save. Now, how am I going to save? So let me remove this code. Okay. Now okay, automatically it said error. So what it says is not all code paths return a value. What is the value here? It's expecting this value. So that's why it says that you're not doing anything, but you're saying that you're going to return this. That's the contract we have established, right? So let's do this. So I'm going to say samples dot, okay, it's auto completing. So if you see adds an object to the end of the list. Okay, I'm going to use add. What am I going to add? I'm going to add in whatever I'm getting as an input. So I tab, it completes it. Now I've successfully added the input that is being given to this particular code to the in-memory object or the collection or the variable that I'm going to use it for this application. But still it's not happy. What it means is not all code paths return. Still I'm not returning, right? What is getting saved. So I'm going to say return. And what am I going to return? Whatever is saved. So sample. Now the red line is gone because we are already establishing the contract that says it's going to return the entity. So it's recommended to have a new line space between your return before your return statements so that it is clear. So that's simple, right? So what I've done in a recap is I'm receiving some sample data, I'm saving the sample data, and then I'm returning that data. That's it. Nice. Okay. Hope you all remember. Some unused references are here. What you have to do is analyze, code cleanup, run code cleanup. Cool. Now we have everything cleaned, right? Now, let me ask a question. Just think about it, right? So today we just have one model. And then we are performing that model's save operation. Okay, so that we went with storage broker, and all those things. Okay, neat. What if tomorrow we have another model? And we will need to perform insert for the same model, right? So again, we need to come and add here, like I'm going to insert another person and then use that particular code. In terms of, code cleanliness, the pattern that you can make is to leverage partial classes. Let's see what it does. So let me just Control C, Control V. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to say this is my interface for the model sample, right? So let me go here and remove this because this interface is not going to be used for sample. So let me remove this. Then this is my actual interface that's going to be handling all the operations that is required for the model sample. So tomorrow, if I have another model called person, I can simply come here and say iStorageBroker.person.cs as another file so that we kind of, keep the code neat in terms of leveraging the capability that's out of box with C#. There's an error here. Let's take a look. So this one says the namespace of example console app broker storages already contain a definition for iStorage broker. Yeah, that's true because one file here already has that. Another file here also has that. So now comes the beauty. What we're going to say is partial, right? Now the error is gone. Let's go back and check this. It's still not happy. Again, this is another one. It also already gives you a message, missing partial modifier. So it's trying to help you out what we have to do, partial. Okay, nice. So another example that I could share in terms of understanding how this partial works is, assume that we are planning a party. We're doing potluck, right? And each of us have signed up for preparing our dishes, right? So for the party to happen, each and every one of the signed up people preparing the dishes has to be collated together so that we have the whole party happening with partial inputs coming from multiple people, right? So if you have potluck here as your main interface, and then you say potluck.milkshake is another interface which is preparing the milkshake. and another interface which is preparing your dessert and whatnot, right? So partial is giving you a capability to instruct the compiler that, hey, I'm not done in this file. There is some more for this in another file. That's the intent here. So this is all good. Now we are very clear that if I'm going to perform any operation for the sample, I just have to open up this file and take a look at it. And if I'm going to perform any operation for person, then I'll take a look at a file called istoragebroker.person.cs. Okay, now coming here, the same hold goods, right? Not just for the interface, even for the implementation, we want to ensure that we have our code organized. So the same trick, Control C, Control V. Sorry, I did this here. Select your file, Control C, Control V, right click, rename. Hope you would have guessed what the name is. It's going to be same, storage broker sample.cs. It's not happy. Something is not happy. So it says ambiguity between storage samples and storage samples, because this is being defined in both the places of the same scope. So it's not happy. So let's remove this, where I don't want the code of sample sitting in the common file. I now know where I have to keep my code that is related to sample in this particular file. Okay, now that error is gone. We have another error. What it says the namespace already contains a definition of storage broker. Perfect. Now we know what to do. So that's it. It's going to be happy. Let's go check here. No, let's finish this as well. Is it all happy? Looks so. Let's confirm that. So again, we have things here that's not required. It's always good practice to do one time before you commit, but I'm just iterating it multiple times just that we get that practice. To understand if it's successful, what we have to do, we can either build the solution or run our test. Remember, we did have our placeholder test. So automatically running our test behind the scenes builds. So if you see this, it's build succeeded. Yeah, so now it has completed your test. Looks like whatever code change that we have made so far is not disturbing the application. It's all going good. Awesome. Now let's go create a pull request. So if you see, I'm still in my previous branch. So let me get inside main. And there might be some changes that is there, which is not there in my copy. So let me get that copy. I don't have any dependency. So I always wanted to work on main, right? That's my use case now. So let me go get the latest. Some people have a practice of creating a new branch first and then working. So whatever works well for you, users, Shri, and here I'm going to work on broker. What am I going to work on? Insert. And what's my model? Sample. So any message that is related, that is making sense, the activity that I'm performing is a broker activity, and the operation is insert on what? On sample. So that's the story here. Now my branch is created. Awesome. So I can go ahead, make a commit, broker, insert sample. So this prefix tag is going to tell us what this component is about. And then this is going to explain what the operation is about and what model that is. So everything looks good. Every file is add. I'm going to make a commit. And so it again committed it locally. Let me push it out. Okay. Yeah. Now, hope you now understand what brokers are, how do we maintain our code with partial classes, and what's an interface and what's a class, and how do we abstract these secrets on how the operation is delivered from our clients or consumer part of our application. Okay, see you all then. Thank you.